I'm very, very grateful to Sri Arun Puri, my good friend Sri Chaitanya Kalbag, the former Editor-in-Chief of Business Today, and of course to the team at Business Today for this opportunity to speak here. Business Today has become a preeminent business magazine by combining its unique focus on individuals with its emphasis on fairness, accuracy, and excellence. Reading Business Today has indeed become as much a ritual for all of us as reading the morning newspaper. I'm very, very grateful to them for inviting me to speak on the lessons that I have learned from my life in business. Actually, it would have been much more appropriate if that had been delivered by Sri N. Chandrasekharan, who has proved to all of us that he is the finest leader in our society, in our industry, and probably the finest leader in the business today in India. That only tells me that it is your affection that has made you call me here, and therefore, when people show affection, you have to respond to it with affection, and that's the reason why I am standing here today. Great institutions, like great nations, are built on the foundations of high aspirations, high quality people, and hard work. The challenge in achieving anything aspirational is, as Bernard Shaw once said, to see what most people do not see, to dream of things that most people wonder about, and to realize the dream because it is aspirational, it is honorable, and it is the right thing to do. There is no leadership without courage. Courage of conviction, courage to do what is right, courage to go against the vast majority of naysayers, doubters, and mediocre people, courage to admit one's mistakes, courage to recruit smarter people than you, courage to accept that peers can be smarter and better than you, and to, of course, learn from them, courage to walk the untrodden path, and courage to take tough, unpleasant, and timely decisions. My business life has also taught me that values are about doing the right thing, even if it is disadvantageous to us. Values raise the respect of leaders, the most important attribute for leading men and women. I have not seen any leader anywhere in the world practice values without courage. I have learned that a successful corporation is built on the foundation of top quality people with appropriate competencies at every level, particularly at the top. I was privileged to assemble a fine team with people excelling in their areas of expertise. Creating such a team requires adhering to tough selection criteria, upholding merit at all points of time, taking tough but fair decisions affecting these people, exhorting them to reach for the stars, giving them opportunities to do the plausibly impossible, and providing a safety net to them when they try to reach for the stars. Whatever success Infosys may have achieved was the result of extraordinary innovation ushered by these people in their own chosen areas. I have found that modeling and using data for evaluating the long-term impact of every policy decision is a must to secure the future of a corporation. Using data in decisions affecting people eliminates personal biases and enhances the confidence of your colleagues in your fairness and your transparency. I have found that the maturity of many managers in the Indian industry, a toddler by international standards, is still low. Their mindset is to please the boss and to tell him what he or she wants to hear. Such managers like to keep the conversation pleasant no matter what the realities are. Managers that get into details, follow a disciplined path, and take tough, timely, and unpleasant decisions are still a minority in this country. Therefore, it is very important for our leaders to be much more details-oriented than their Western counterparts. The majority of instances where Infosys committed mistakes were instances where the leaders did not go into details on such important issues. In fact, I would say that an ideal leader is one who is as comfortable with the 50,000 feet bird's eye view of the situation as he is with the ground level worm's eye view of the situation. Hope, confidence, enthusiasm, and energy of employees of a corporation come from the trust that leaders engender in their employees through their own behavior and actions. Trust, I have realized, is an important fuel for progress. Every leader has to work hard to earn the trust of his or her employees to the level of a child trusting its mother through competence, confidence, courtesy, honesty, fairness, generosity, and transparency. Respect from every stakeholder, that is, customers, employees, investors, vendor partners, the government of the land, and the society, matters more than revenues, profits, and stock price. Respect from the society matters most because it is the society that contributes customers, employees, investors, bureaucrats, and politicians. That's the reason why I have lost lots of sleep since the day of our settlement with the US government. The organization's only fault was a technicality, that is, not ensuring that our employees completed the I-9 forms correctly. And there was no violation of any US rules regarding the visa usage. But even a light rap on the knuckles for India's most respected company is not something I expected would ever happen. This is a good reason, my friends, why leaders must get into details in important matters and not rely on functional personnel who may not appreciate the implications of a lapse. This event, I must admit, has been a huge disappointment for every Infosian, the past and the present, who worked hard to build Infosys as the most respected company in India. I say on behalf of the management of Infosys that we own full responsibility for this technical lapse. I say that every Infosian shows a sense of contrition and that we promise to do everything necessary to avoid being in such a situation ever again. Business as life has ups and downs. The important thing is to show a sense of equanimity in handling such ups and downs. Every one of these events must help us to introspect on how we can become better. That's why we in South India eat a mixture of sweet jaggery and bitter neem with a smile on the Ugadi day, that is the New Year day, just to show that we will take the good and the bad during the ensuing year with equanimity. I have realized that investors understand that every business will have ups and downs. They just want the senior management of corporations to level with them at all points of time. They want us to bring bad news to the investors proactively and early. I've also realized that nothing worthwhile happens, whether it's in your life or in your business, without competence, discipline, honesty, hard work, meritocracy, fairness, openness, speed, imagination or innovation, and excellence in execution. The biggest lacuna of many Indians are the inability to embrace meritocracy and the disinclination to take quick and firm decisions. That's why Indian leaders will have to become relentless champions of meritocracy and speed in decision making. The best way to instill these values in the employees of a corporation is for the leaders to lead by example, to walk the talk and practice these values. Mahatma Gandhi demonstrated the power of leadership by example like no other leader the world has ever seen. I have found that simplicity in conduct, in operations, and in corporate lifestyle matters a lot to build a strong company. Simple business rules are easy to understand, easy to implement, and easy to communicate. They therefore eliminate many mistakes. Simple corporate lifestyle brings corporate leaders closer to their employees. Financial strength for companies comes from delivering differentiated business value to their clients, obtaining premium prices over their competitors, controlling expenses, and therefore making good margins. Without exceptions, I have found that financially strong companies, like financially safe families, practice frugality in everything they do. They spend less than what they earn. They seek maximum value for money in every transaction. I have found that building goodwill with the society is a must for every corporation hoping to demonstrate longevity. Successful corporations, I have found, are generally good corporate citizens. My experience says that luck and chance play an important role in our successes and failures. Therefore, I have found that it is important to be courteous, graceful, and humble when you are on top. That's what character is all about. However, let's also remember Louis Pasteur's words that chance favors the prepared mind. Therefore, being prepared to achieve success is necessary to be successful. I have found that as you go higher and higher in the hierarchy of a corporation, your words are listened to more and more carefully, and they have bigger and bigger impact on your younger colleagues. On a few occasions, I did not choose my words carefully, and the results were not what I intended. I have regretted such incidents deeply. Gratitude, I have found, is the hallmark of civility. Unfortunately, these days it is a rare commodity in the corporate world. Such lack of gratitude by your juniors takes away your enthusiasm to be generous to your younger colleagues. Therefore, when your seniors show you generosity, please remember to show your gratitude. I can go on and on and on because there are so many things I have learned by watching my peers in the industry. Even today, I learned so much by watching Mr. Chandrasekharan. But therefore, let me stop here because otherwise I could be speaking the whole evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Murthy, for a very illuminating and inspiring and very frank talk. I'll ask you a few questions and open it up to the floor. When we ran that cover on Business Today, when it said missing Murthy, what in management terms was Infosys missing when they said missing Murthy? And Murthy came back in 4 months' time from that cover.
We have just started our silent period. I don't know whether I should speak anything about Infosys. I mean, you are the doyen of journalism in India, therefore you know corporate governance principles much better than I do. So therefore, if it is okay with you, I will skip answering that.
Okay. You want to answer it in general terms?
No, I think at the end of the day, execution of any great strategy is extremely important. And if we do not execute that strategy, there is no value to that strategy. That's what I would say.
You've nicely avoided the question, but let me take you in another direction. Infosys has been actually the epitome of corporate governance, succession planning, tremendous growth. The fact that you had to come back and also come back and bring your son into the company, does it go against the very grain of this succession planning, meritocracy? I know your son is a very competent person, but does it send the right message across? I'm talking of from a corporate India point of view.
Yeah, I think first of all, my coming back was at the request of the board of directors. Not even in my wildest imagination did I think of that possibility when I walked out of Infosys on 20th August 2011. I mean, buildings were named after me, the entire Mysore campus was named after me, all of that. However, when the board of directors and the executive management spent more than a month in talking to me, I had a discussion with my wife and my children, and they said, look, Infosys is your middle child. My daughter Akshata was born in 1980. I founded Infosys in 1981, and my son Rohan was born in 1983. So they said, look, if one of your children needs your attention, would you not do it? In fact, that was what, in some sense, settled the issue. Second, when I walked out of the company in 2011, I had just completed my 65th year. And between the day I founded Infosys on July 7th, 1981, and 20th August 2011, I had completely dedicated myself to Infosys. I had completely forgotten my family. And the day I walked out of Infosys, I said, the rest of my life, whatever little it is, I am going to dedicate entirely to my family. I'll spend with my children, no matter what that is. So when the directors spoke to me, I told them, I said, look, it is not possible because post 65, my life is dedicated to my family. I want to spend with my children. And I've done enough for Infosys. Till 5:30 p.m. on the last day, I was as passionate as I was on the first day. So I said, I don't need any more. Then they said, no, let us think of a way wherein you can spend as much time with your children as you want. And that's when I started thinking. I said, how do I make sure that I have the privilege of the company of my son, and daughter is in London, so without violating any of the rules. Corporate governance is all about deriving undeserving benefits. That's all what corporate governance is. Then, I know it reasonably well. So, if you want to follow the principles of corporate governance, ensure that there is nobody in the company who derives undeserved benefit because he or she has some relationship with you. So we said, first of all, my son has done a very high quality PhD in computer science. He won the Best Paper Award in SICOM, which is one of the rare things. He was selected to be a member of the Society of Fellows. Every year they select 12 fellows out of 400 to 800 high-quality PhD applications from all over the world in all fields, physics, anthropology, history, etc., etc. And he was one of them. He was the second person after Marvin Minsky, the founder of artificial intelligence, to be a fellow of the Society of Fellows in Computer Science. Larry Summers and Paul Samuelson, Noam Chomsky, John Bardeen, who won Nobel Prize in Physics twice, Amartya Sen. They're all, members of the Society of Fellows. So on the issue of meritocracy, there is nobody of that accomplishment in Infosys today. That's the reality. Then we said, okay, so if he comes and helps me in an area where he can add value, that's not an issue. Second, we said, he will take 1 rupee salary. And he will come as my executive assistant in charge of enhancing the quality and productivity of software development. And I think he will, he is just working in that area. So therefore, I don't see any issue of violation of corporate governance. The only reason why people objected to was because I had said earlier that our children will not form part of Infosys. What I meant was, as long as they're working full-time in Infosys, they would not be. And it was not I who wanted to go back to Infosys. I was invited, and these were all very special conditions. So therefore, I do not think there has been any issue of violation of corporate governance. That doesn't agree. Even in terms of my own views, I think they would change based on circumstances. These are not any fundamental values. After all, everybody and his brother in India has, his relative in the company. Including Tatas. Let's remember. It has happened. Tatas, for whom I have tremendous respect. So I don't think we should make much of that. I'm sorry I took a little bit long because this is an important...
All I can say is you're lucky you got a brilliant son. So, and he deserves to be there. One more question in terms of the stock market and your prices and so forth. You're a darling of the stock market.
So that, unfortunately, I cannot talk.
Oh, no, I just want to ask another question, which is the question about, because when I see your results as a layman, 50% jump in profits and 50% turnover, and then I read, oh, the stock market is very disappointed. Right? To me, it seems that the company has grown with such enormous pace. Of course, I know the stock market discounts what you project, etc. But it's a blistering pace of growth of every kind. You may look like that, oh, you're not growing as much as you should have or could have. Is this something which kind of bugs you at some time? That this is, over-expectation from the markets and from investors and so forth? Which company in India shows this kind of growth outside the software industry, say?
In fact, before we went public in 1993, I sat down with my younger colleagues and discussed with them the responsibilities that come with going public. I said, folks, just don't think that you will be very rich people because your stocks provide you liquidity. I said, with that privilege comes a very heavy responsibility, and that is, you will have to live up to the expectations of people. Doesn't matter what it is. After all, I also told them, I said, look, happiness is the variance between reality and expectation. That is, if the reality is better than expectation, people are happy. If the reality is worse than expectation, people are very unhappy, no matter what the absolute value of those two are. So therefore, because we agreed to be listed, we have to accept the right of the investors to expect us to grow. At the end of the day, let's remember, I don't know what the stock price of Infosys today is. Let's say it's 3,300 or something. If I want to buy that stock at 3,300, I am not going to buy it because of better health. I have to see a better return on that stock compared to other stocks. Number two, or at least compared to the bank deposits. So therefore, people who are putting their hard-earned money have every right to expect us to provide better return than any choices that they have. So I wouldn't lose my sleep on that.
I've always wondered in the software industry, this applies I think right across the board, and you're the leader there, and with TCS of course. Why is it
well,
that...
they are the leaders.
Okay, yes. Why is it that the software industry, to my knowledge, basically is a knowledge provider, a service provider, but are not able to create, we have such brilliant software engineers, to create products of their own, branded products of their own, like Microsoft, Oracle. We're always vendors to somebody else. We've been in the, you've been in, I mean, software industry been around for now quite 2 decades. Why has that not happened? Why are we still just service providers?
Well, you know, there are a few examples of companies having developed products that have been ranked in the top 1 or 2 in the world. Infosys Finacle is one such example. But let's also remember that every country has to compete based on its competitive advantage. India's competitive advantage is the large number of reasonably well-educated talent. So therefore, we said we will focus on services which has the need for large number of people. There is nothing wrong in being services, because in a country which has an average GDP of $1,500 perhaps, earning $75,000 per capita, which is 50 times the country's per capita GDP, is not something that anybody should be unhappy about. 50 times the nation's per capita GDP. It's like in the US, a company earning $2.5 million per year per employee. Third, one thing we realized pretty early in late 80s was that there is going to be continued demand for services, no matter how many products come into play, for a very simple reason. If, let's say, Chandra's company and my company were to install the same piece of software from SAP or whatever, doesn't matter. If we want to compete in the marketplace, if we want to create differentiation, Chandra will have to put in place unique business rules that will make his customers find TCS much more attractive than Infosys. He will have to put in unique business rules that will make TCS more attractive to prospective employees compared to Infosys. Therefore, whether we like it or not, he will build a layer of customization around the standard package that he has installed. Similarly, I will have to do that. Therefore, as early as 1988, in our strategy session, we found that the market for services will continue to be there. And fifth, I think 20 or 30 years is a short period in the life of a nation. Therefore, bear with us. God is not finished with us. I'm sure Indian software industry will come out with some good products as we move forward. And finally, other than the United States, please tell me one other country that has produced a killer software package. Really. Even SAP had to move from Germany to United States for its revenues to grow very rapidly. So therefore, I think Indian software industry too will have its limelight in so far as products are concerned. But all of us will have to be a little bit more patient, that's all.
But a lot of these companies which you mentioned are in fact probably a lot of Indians, software engineers, are there developing these products. So my question was, why can't they be doing it here? And it's not mutually exclusive.
That's a very good thing. You have to be in a highly competitive marketplace. You have to be in a marketplace where corporations realize the power of information technology to gain a competitive advantage. You have to be in a marketplace where there is a very, very powerful ecosystem. In India, it still has not happened. But I'm sure as it happens, Indian companies will produce such products.
Okay, I'm opening it up to the floor. Please raise your hand who wants to ask a question. Identify yourself. Malvinder.
Sir, I've got two questions for you.
One at a time, otherwise I'll forget the second one.
Okay. The first question is, if you were to go back in time and if you wanted to make sure that when you turned 65 and you were retiring from Infosys, what would you have done differently, and what are your learnings today that you would have done differently that would have allowed you to continue to spend time with your family 65 onwards?
You know, Infosys has operated as an intelligent democracy where there are lots of discussions and debates. Because we operated as an intelligent democracy, which was highly participative, I would say by and large we avoided any disasters. I don't think we went through any disaster. Of course, the flip side of it is we did not do, we could have done certain things faster. But insofar as my work-life balance is concerned, I don't know whether I would have done it differently, because I was so passionate about Infosys. You know, I wouldn't have done it differently. And my wife recognized this pretty early, and she said, "Don't worry, forget about home I will look after, and you go ahead and do whatever you want." So that's the thing, you know. That's why I said at 65, I said, no matter what happens, I will do it my way now. Because you guys are inviting me, I will do it my way. I won't do anything wrong, but I will put my priorities very clear post 65. That's why up to 65, I just did. On a lighter vein, you know, one of our employees once went to the head of HR sometime in middle 90s. And he asked her, Hema, do you believe in work-life balance? She said, of course I do. So then he asked, how many hours a day, what percentage of my time should I spend at work? She said, 50%. He said, oh, you mean I have to spend only 50% of my time in the office? She said, no, first 50 years in the office, next 50 years you can relax. And on a more serious weighing. You know, K.V. Kamath, who used to be the chairman before me, he once was giving a talk and somebody asked him this question, one of the employees, work-life balance. He said, look, at this stage in the development history of India, we all have to first get a life. What he meant was there's so many poor people in this country. We have to all work very hard and provide, opportunity for everybody, and then we can think of work-life balance. Sorry.
Second question.
So, the IT sector has done exceedingly well globally, and I certainly believe that even over the next many decades, we will have many more companies like TCS and Infosys, and the sector will continue to grow very, very successfully. Do you see any other sectors who you believe from India would have similar successes?
I think, clearly biotechnology is one. We could have made India the place for tourism. If only the government took some tough decisions, if only the government worked very closely with the private sector, we could have, in fact, I had once offered to make Taj Mahal the place where it became aspirational to spend the marriage anniversary night for the presidents of countries, prime ministers, and all of that. We could have done that. This country has so many historical sites. Unfortunately, we lack imagination. We lack excellence in execution. We lack trust in our people. Our governments lack trust in our people. If we had all come together, tourism could perhaps have been one of the most lucrative industries for India.
Anybody else? No.
At any stage of Infosys, including the early stage or the mid stage, were there any existential situations or risks that existed where the company would break down, and how would you deal with it in early stage?
If you looked at it from the mindset of the youngsters today, yes. But if you looked at it from the mindset of youngsters those days, no. Because we founded the company in 1981. Till 1991, it would require us about 20 to 30 visits to Delhi to even obtain license to import a computer of $50,000, $100,000. What that meant was, even before you obtained the license, you would have spent probably $50,000 on coming to Delhi, staying in hotel, and going back and all of that. You would have paid a duty of 50%, extra amount of 50% then. That's one. Second, as you know, we did not have current account convertibility. We had to go to RBI and wait for 15 days, even if we wanted to travel one day abroad. And then, it took us 2 years to get a telephone connection in Bangalore. Because those days, there was a higher priority for a retired government officer to get a telephone allotment, higher than a company which was exporting. So the point I'm making is simply this. Those days, we had not seen anything better. And those days, we were all brought up on the staple diet of contentment, patience, all of that, which our parents drilled into us day after day after day. They were all good things, but I'm saying, So therefore, I don't think we thought that, oh, we'll close down the car. First, and next, none of us had a car till 1992 or 93. We went by rickshaw, we went by cycle. In Bombay, everywhere we used to take a rickshaw. So we didn't mind that. The point I'm making is this. As earlier I said, happiness is nothing but reality minus expectation. If the reality is better than expectation, you are happy. Our expectation was so low, that even the reality of pre-1991 was fine with us. So today, I don't think our youngsters would continue with a company in such a situation.
Those days you couldn't have a credit card even, I remember.
No, there was no credit card, nothing, absolutely.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Murthy. I am a member of the Way family. My name is Amar Sinha. My question to you is relating to organization behavior. Your speech was very motivating. When you began your speech, I think you spoke most of the time about the human capital that helped you build your company to great heights. We as a company are quite large. We also have a large human capital base. I would direct my question straight. You see, when you were the CEO of Infosys, it reached the greatest heights. And from your speech, we could understand that your team had a lot to do. It was the best team in the country. Now, you having come back to the same organization, how do you see that impacting the morale of the people who helped you build the company to its, the greatest heights? Do you see that as a challenge? Would you be able to get the same kind of output now when you are back on the seat?
No, I think a lot of things have changed between 2002, when I stepped down as a CEO, and 2013. The industry has grown hugely. So therefore, the quality of manpower that we can recruit is certainly not the same level as what it was then, because the numbers have gone up. When you recruit 25,000 people, you really don't get the kind of people that you want. For example, those days, earlier, we used to get about 100 people from IITs every year, out of probably about 1,000 people that we recruited. Today, I don't think we get 10. And then we are going to Tier 3 and Tier 4 colleges. And those colleges really have not been able to train the students as well as we would want. So that's one. Second, I think as organizations become larger and larger, unless you have role models who walk the corridors in flesh and blood, in propounding the values tend to get diluted. So there are a lot of challenges. We have to enhance the speed. We have to enhance the excellence in execution. We have to enhance the level of innovation. We have to improve the spirit of meritocracy. We have to be even more open to new ideas. So I think all these things take a little bit of time. And so I have to be very open and very honest. I must say that when I accepted the request of the board and the executive management, I said I would need at least 3 years to bring about a significant change in our mindset, in our fundamental processes. So I think it's going to take time.
Okay, one last question, and then we have to wrap up, I'm afraid. Yes, sir.
I also have two questions.
One
question.
One at a time. The second one is the part of the
So
first.
combine them, one question.
Yeah, right. The first question is that when you started, you saw some need in business, and then you sort of worked your way, created your team, and produced that particular product or job or whatever you want to say. And that is how the cult Narayana Murthy came up. And you actually continued to develop that kind of requirement which was there in the world, which you recognized that that was a requirement. And then you continued to deliver in the way you talked about sincerity and this, that, the other. And also, you had that kind of, sort of brilliance which was there, where you discovered and delivered. So what was that when you started? That is my question. What did you see in the world as an opportunity, and then how did you, sort of deliver that? That is my question.
Well, when we founded Infosys in 1981, we realized that there were 3 or 4 things that were happening in the world. First was a judgment in Minneapolis that unbundled hardware and software. That happened in around 75. IBM versus the US government. When the judge unbundled software, he said, till then, IBM and the bunch, Burroughs, Univac, whatever, all those, NCR, Cray, and Honeywell, they insisted only their software being run on their machine. They said, no, you will not be allowed to run a third-party software on this. But the judge struck it down. That's when the opportunity for software-alone companies started. We recognize that, one. Second, there was the introduction of super mini computers like VAX 11780 and Data General MV8000 in 1979, I think. What the super mini computers did was they provided adequate computing power to corporations at highly affordable prices. That was the second thing that happened. The third major technology introduction, or the third major paradigm shift that happened was the introduction of industrial strength, relational database management based transaction processing systems, the online transaction processing systems, OLTP. As you people know, if you want to run any commercial application, you must update all the what we call tables or the entire database totally or nothing at all. Let me explain to you. Let's say that Arun sends a check to me for, say, 1,000 rupees. Now, when the bank wants to credit that money to me, at the same time, they must debit that money from his account. In other words, Arun's account should go down by 1,000 rupees, and my account should go up by 1,000 rupees. Both of these things will have to be done in what we call an atomic fashion. That means either both of them happen or neither of them. If you want to leave the database, in a state of integrity. Such piece of software is what is called online transaction processing software. For the first time in 1980, both Data General and Digital Equipment Corporation introduced such online transaction processing software. Then we realized that because these machines, the hardware was cheap and the software was cheap, we knew that lots of mid-sized corporations would start using computers to develop commercial applications in a big way. And the fourth change that we noticed was, in India, there were lots of youngsters who were coming out of engineering colleges and IITs. Other than a small percentage of people who were going abroad to do their master's or PhD, most of them were in India. They didn't have jobs. So therefore, we said, we can combine the technical strength of Indian talent with the market opportunity of the West, and because of these technological changes that I talked about, we said there is going to be a great explosion in the market opportunity for companies from India. That's the reason why we started.
The second question is, what is
I think I have to finish.
What is Narayana Murthy thinking right now to grow the company in a similar way in which he started?
I just want to talk to Chandra and find out what is it that he does so that we can all learn from him and do it.
Thank you so much, Murthy. It was really a very illuminating talk, and your questions and answers. I think one of the things I took away was is respect. Just respect from society, respect from your customers, and then comes respect from your shareholders, employees, and so forth. Yes, and competitors. So the key motive being respect. And I think that was very well illustrated by you, sir. Thank you so much.